A warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Lima, but first are the headlines. COVID-19 cases, deaths drop despite third wave threats. Newly enrolled advocates urged on professionalism and ethics. Tshisekedi authorizes review of Sino-Congolese contract signed by Joseph Kabila. And in sports, URA triumph over Ethiopian Buna in opening leg of CAF Confederation Cup. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. The reported number of COVID-19 cases in the country has dropped by 10% in the last 7 days, despite reports of the spike in infections in a few districts. Dr. Monica Musenero, the senior presidential advisor on epidemics, said last week that the pockets of the infections are signals of the COVID-19 third wave. We have more. Statistics from the Ministry of Health indicate that between September 3rd and September 9th, a total of 830 cases of COVID-19 infections were reported after 24,460 samples were tested. This was lower than the 922 cases reported between August 27th and September 2nd, when a slightly lower number of samples, 23,850, were tested. Similarly, positivity rate for samples tested declined from 3.4% between September 3rd to 9th to 3.3% between August 27th and September 2nd. The notable decline in cases and positivity rate comes amid pronouncements by the Ministry of Health that some districts are experiencing a spike in infections. Mr. Emmanuel Ainebiona, the Ministry of Health spokesperson, said that in the past 3 weeks they have registered pockets of intense transmission in several hotspots, including Teso sub-region in districts of Katakwi, Serere, Ngora, Kumi, Kapela, Byong, and Karachi. The threats that the country is headed for a severe third wave have been central in delaying the reopening of schools, places of worship, and other sectors. The country has endured 2 nationwide lockdowns and the measures have not been completely lifted. Dr. Henry Kajumbura, the head of infection control and prevention in the Scientific Advisory Committee on COVID-19, said although the numbers are few, the threat of third wave is still imminent. The Health Ministry yesterday urged Ugandans to be vigilant, get vaccinated, and be vocal in sharing correct and verified information to reduce the chances of entering a third COVID-19 wave. A total of 88 lawyers were enrolled as advocates of the High Court at ceremony which took place at the Judiciary Headquarters in Kampala. The ceremony, which was split into 2 shifts in order to observe COVID-19 standard operating procedures, was presided over by Registrar High Court Samuel Emokol.
In both shifts, Emokol, who represented the Chief Registrar, emphasized the need for discipline by adhering to the professional code of conduct. He urged the new advocates to find areas of speciality in practice, embrace offering pro bono services, and always look out for recruitment opportunities in both government and private sectors. Emokol asked the new advocates to embrace judiciary's innovations that have been put in place for quick justice delivery, such as small claims procedure, mediation, plea bargaining, to mention but a few. Speaking on behalf of the President Uganda Law Society, Alex Matov, the society's chairperson of the Legal Education Committee, emphasized the need for continuous legal education and mentorship. Matov stated that Uganda Law Society Academy has been started to teach young lawyers how to professionally manage law firms and also to act as platforms to be connected to senior laws for career guidance.
The 42 days which President Museveni issued banning indoor games, live performances, and a number of other activities ended last Friday, leaving many confused on what happens next since no new directives have been issued. Kachanchu reports.
While addressing the nation on 30th July, the president said the international and local accredited sports events as well as outdoor individual sports activities, are allowed under strict observance of the standard operating procedures, but indoor sports activities remain closed. He also banned gaming and betting, casinos, theaters, cinemas, performing artists, concerts, and comedy, and said these measures would be reviewed after 42 days. However, when the 42 days ended, the president did not issue any new directives, either to extend the ban or rescind it. Legally, there is nothing that bans the performing artists from organizing shows and sports activities resuming. However, Dr. Monica Msenero, the senior presidential advisor on epidemics, yesterday said the directives still stand as last communicated. She said all those sections that have not been opened would be reviewed after 60 days from the president's last address. Dr. Msenero asked Ugandans to go for vaccination so that when the next review is done, it will give government a better chance to reopen other sectors that are still under lock and key.
Let's take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi has demanded an evaluation of projects linked to the Sino-Congolese contract signed in 2008 by his predecessor Joseph Kabila in the Democratic Republic of Congo, according to official sources on Saturday.
According to the government spokesperson Patrick Muyaya on state television RTNC, Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi asked the Minister of Infrastructure and Public Works to present the state of play of the technical and financial executions of the projects, including in the so-called Sino-Congolese contract, and the Minister of Mines to do the same in her sector at the next meeting of the Council of Ministers. The Congolese government spokesperson said it is in this spirit that in 2008, in order to capitalize on all available sources of infrastructure funding, the country signed the Sino-Congolese contract. The former President Kabila had negotiated in 2008 a contract in the form of butter, cobalt and copper in exchange for the construction of infrastructure with the Chinese consortium for an amount of $9 billion, renegotiatable to $6 billion under pressure from the International Monetary Fund. To date, nearly $2.74 billion has been disbursed by the Chinese side, mostly in the form of investments. Mr. Muyaya said that the execution of major infrastructure projects under this contract had been interrupted for technical reasons and related in particular to the lack of electrical power for mining production. In mid-May, during a visit to the southeastern mining town of Kolwezi, Mr. Tshisekedi announced his intention to renegotiate mining contracts, including those concluded with China by Mr. Kabila.
Mixed reactions are greeting a Zimbabwe court ruling that sided with traditional chiefs seeking to exhume the remains of ex-President Robert Mugabe from his home village and move them to the capital, going against the family's wishes. Mugabe was buried in his rural home village of Kutama, about 90 kilometers west of Harare, in September 2019 after weeks of wrangling over his final resting place. Mugabe's wife, Grace, and other family members had opposed government plans to bury the former leader at the National Heroes Acre in the capital, But while they eventually got their way, a traditional court in May fined the widow 5 cows and 2 goats for improperly burying her husband and called for his exhumation. 3 of Mugabe's children challenged that order in a magistrate court, which sided with the chiefs on Friday. Mugabe family members did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Tavazwa Mugwadi, Director of Information and Publicity for ZANU-PF Party, described the development as unfortunate. They have the option of appealing in higher courts. Mugabe died in a Singapore hospital on September 6, 2019, aged 95, almost 2 years after a military coup ended his autocratic 37-year rule. A former guerrilla fighter, he took power after independence from white minority rule in 1980 and was initially hailed as a Pan-African liberator. Charismatic and lauded by the West, Mugabe's rule became increasingly repressive as he cracked down on his political opponents. Moving on, Morocco's King Mohammed VI on Friday named businessman Aziz Akanouch to lead a new government after his National Army of Independence thrashed the long-ruling Islamists in parliamentary elections.
According to a statement from the palace, the king appointed Akanouchi head of the government and tasked him with forming a new government following Wednesday's polls. The RNI won 102 of Parliament's 395 seats, trouncing the moderate Islamist Justice and Development Party, which had headed the governing coalition for a decade but just took 13 seats, according to results released by the Interior Ministry. The billionaire businessman worth $2 billion according to Forbes has led the RNI since 2016. His party is considered close to the palace and has been part of all coalition governments for the past 23 years except during a brief period between 2012 and 2013. Following his win, Akanouchi pledged to improve conditions for citizens of Morocco, where entrenched social inequalities have been excavated by the pandemic. The economy shrank by 7.1% in 2020, and the poverty rate shot up to 11.7% during the lockdown, the Moroccan Statistics Institute said in April. A recent overhaul of the election laws meant it was the first time Morocco's 8 million voters cast ballots in both parliamentary and local elections in the same day, an effort to boost turnout. Around 50.35% of eligible voters participated, according to the Interior Ministry, higher than the 43% in the 2016 legislative polls. Akanouchi's party also came first in the local elections, winning 9,995 of the 31,503 seats, and the regional poll with 196 of the 678 positions.
Away from that, Tunisian President Kais Saied announced on Saturday night the appointment as soon as possible of the new government and mentioned the future reform of the constitution during a walkabout in Tunis. On 25th July, Mr. Saied dismissed the Prime Minister, suspended the activities of Parliament, and also took over the judiciary for a month renewable before extending these measures on 24th August until further notice. On Saturday evening, he did not give a precise date for the formation of the government, adding that they are continuing the search for personalities who will assume this responsibility. President Saied also referred to the 2014 constitution, saying that he respects it, although they can introduce amendments to the text. In recent days, many media outlets have speculated that a provisional government will soon be announced, followed by a revision of the constitution, which will then be submitted to universal suffrage via a referendum before new legislative elections. In the images posted on the Facebook page page of the presidency, the head of state was seen walking down Bourguiba Avenue, cheered by the crowd who sing the national anthem before stopping in front of the microphones of television stations. A legal theorist and teacher, Kais Saied, has presented himself since his surprise election by a large majority in late 2019 as the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution. Let's once again take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, with the impact of COVID-19 on women-owned businesses, SME.NG, an e-market that kicked off in August, is said to make a difference in the lives of female entrepreneurs in Nigeria. The online platform is expected to give access to finance and e-commerce to business women in the country.
The marketplace is an extension of the services provided by the She Works Here, an all-women's project that ensures stability and it's resilient to economic shocks. An independent consultant, Gloria Ekpo, said that the app gives women the opportunity to access trade finance and other services that will help build their businesses and make them robust. According to her, finance has not been women-friendly in Nigeria, adding that the project will give women the opportunity to access finance in the women-friendly manner. SMENG invested in the e-commerce platform as a direct response to the impact of COVID-19 on female entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Ekpo said that although the COVID-19 is a health crisis, it has amplified gender inequality in a very horrible way. She noted that most often women lack awareness of government interventions as they do not have access to information to do a lot of things, hence affecting their work-life balance. Since the formal launch of SMENG, its purpose has been to empower and make life easier for women and youths.
In our health news today, South Africa on Friday launched the main phase of a global COVID vaccine study on children and teenagers led by Chinese maker Sinovac Biotech, with the first 2 participants jabbed in Pretoria. The study is testing the efficacy of Sinovac's 2-dose CoronaVac on 14,000 children aged between 6 months and 17 years in Chile, Kenya, Malaysia, the Philippines, and South Africa. South Africa, where vaccination has not yet been extended to under 18s, kicked off the study with 2 teenagers jabbed on the sunny campus of Pretoria's Sefako Magatho Health Science University. CoronaVac is approved for use among adults in over 50 countries. China recently cleared it for use in minors, where it has already been administered to millions of children aged 3 to 17. The project director, Sanate Aspinall, told the reporters at the event they see a lot of milder and less severe disease in children, but they still remain susceptible. U.S. manufacturers Pfizer and Moderna have also undertaken pediatric trials of their shots, prompting several countries to greenlight them for children in varying age groups. South African Medical Research Council President Glenda Gray urged the country to follow suit. The country has enrolled 2,000 participants in the study carried out in collaboration with Sinovac's local partner, Pneumolex Group. Sinovac is also in talks about setting up a vaccine production facility in South Africa to provide the continent with shots against a range of diseases, Pneumolex executives said. our sports news today, Uganda Revenue Authority Football Club triumphed over Ethiopian Buna Coffee 2-1 during the opening leg of the CAF Confederation Cup preliminary round at the St. Mary's Stadium, Chitende, on Sunday.
Fast-paced forward Stephen Desi Mukwala scored a first-half brace for the home side before immensely gifted William Solomon Tesfaye pulled a valuable goal for the visitors in the closing half. The first of Mukwala's 2 goals was a header off another headed assist from recruit Vian Sekajugo in the 22nd minute. The second goal came as a curler from 30 yards past the diving goalkeeper Abdelmamo Gebrehoyans with 8 minutes to play. Ethiopian Coffee had a false start with their talisman Gudisa Mekonnen picked an injury as early as the 3rd minute. Uganda Revenue Authority's first attack came in the 5th minute with a long ball from Ashraf Mandela finding Mukwala in offside position. Buna maintained their confidence on the ball, and in the 10th minute, Captain Gamo had a distant shot collected by the Uganda Revenue Authority goalkeeper Nafian Alonzi. The Uganda Revenue Authority created at least one more chance through substitute Ojera, but his laid ball into the area was easily dealt with by the Ethiopian Coffee defenders. Newly appointed URA manager Sam Timbe made the bench in the closing stages of the game after late clearance from the CAF. Timbe later told the media during the post-match press conference that his late clearance arrived at the opportunity timing when the match tempo had changed and the players needed that guidance. The return leg will be held on Saturday 18th September 2021 at the Bahir Dar International Stadium, and said these measures would be reviewed after 42 days.
Now, before we end our news bulletin today, let's take a recap of our top stories. COVID-19 cases, deaths drop despite third wave threats. Newly enrolled advocates urged on professionalism and ethics. Tshisekedi authorizes review of Sino-Congolese contract signed by Joseph Kabila. And in sports, URA triumph over Ethiopian Buna in opening leg of CAF Confederation Cup. That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.